Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm bringing you guys a Frost DK crash course guide for PvP. I've played Frost DK a decent amount since I've discovered it in patch 7.2.5, and I think it's one of the strongest melee classes if you just kind of want to press very minimal buttons and still do a shit ton of damage. So, on that note, let's get into the abilities, talents, and the artifact. To start off, we'll start with the artifact. There's really nothing really noteworthy here except for this. Thronebreaker, Obliterate has a 100% chance to cause a target to be pierced from behind by a Crystalline Sword. This will be one of your main damaging abilities or damage causers because Crystalline Sword does about 100k in PvP, and that's just extra 100k every time you use Obliterate. That's not really noteworthy. Another one is Sinragoza's Fury. It's just a nuke spell. It does like 400,000 damage in PvP, maybe 500,000, and I'll just show you guys what it does here. It does that, straight line. What else is noteworthy? This, Ice in Your Veins, Death Strike heals for 400% more while Icewind Fortitude is active. This is, I guess, your only self-heal, or it's like your oh shit button. You just pop Icebound Fortitude and Death Strike twice, and you'll get all of your health back. I wish I was kidding, I'm not. You literally get all of your health back. Anti-Magic Shell also removes all harmful magic spells when affected or activated. This is good for Affliction Lock, Shadow Priest, any dot class really. Especially Affliction Lock, that's like the first class that comes to mind, because it will just dispel all those unstable afflictions, so you won't take damage from those anymore. Pillar Frost increases frost damage dealt by 10%. Attack speed, that's about it. Those are the really only noteworthy things you need to really keep track of in the artifact. And now we'll get on to the talents. Anti-Magic Shell, if you don't know what this is, it's like you see every Death Knight ever use it. It's like that green shell that pops up around them and absorbs magic damage. Breath of Sinragoza, it's a channeled, it's not channeled, it's, you press it, it breathes frost damage on people, and it lasts until cancelled, and it will refresh your runes as if you're using Frost Strike. Chains of Ices are slow at a prize, a 70% movement reduction, costs 1 rune, 30-yard range. Control Undead, you don't really need to pay attention to that. These three you don't really need to pay attention to. Death Grip, stamp of Death Knight ability, you Death Grip someone to you. You Death Grip someone to you. It's like reverse Leap of Faith, really. Death Strike heals you, does physical damage. This you can use if you find yourself low on health, but you're not going to regenerate enough runes really to be able to spam this, so that's why I would suggest just most of the time using Frost Strike unless you really need the heals from it, or you have Icebound Fortitude popped. Frost Strike, chill your weapons with icy power and quickly strike the enemy with both weapons, dealing a total of 283,000 frost damage. This will hit through Blessing of Protection. I cannot say it's enough. It hits through Blessing of Protection, which is the bop that Rat Pallies can throw, or any Paladin can throw on anyone. Howling Blast. Blast a target with a Frigid Wind, dealing 83,000 magic damage and 66,000 damage to anyone around them, 10 yards, and applies Frost Fever, which is our disease, which has a chance to give us runic power and does damage, and it also has a chance to proc this artifact trait, Hypothermia, which basically just does frost damage again. Next thing is Hungering Rune Weapon. It's Hungering Rune Weapon for me, but if you don't have the talent, it's called Empowered Rune Weapon, I'm pretty sure. Basically, Empowered Rune Weapon, gaining 1 rune at 5 runic power instantly, every 1.5 seconds for 15 seconds. This is our cooldown, one of our main cooldowns, one of our main damaging cooldowns. There is a honor talent which reduces the cooldown of it from 3 minutes to 1 minute, so I would suggest taking that when I get to it, and I'll explain that later. Icebound Fortitude, your blood freezes, granting immunity to stun effects, and reducing all damage you take by 20% for 8 seconds. This is your one defensive cooldown, really. You don't have many defensive cooldowns other than Anti-Magic Shell, and Icebound Fortitude is a Frost DK. So use these try to use these in a very good window. So if someone pops Burst, you're low on health, they still have Burst up, you'd want to pop Icebound Fortitude, get your Death Strikes off, get all your health back, be immune to stuns, and take 20% reduced damage. Mind Freeze is our interrupt. It has a 15-yard range. It's one of the only ranged interrupts in the game, other than, for melee at least, other than Demon Hunter. That's about it. Obliterate, this is our basic ability, really. Brutal attack with both weapons does physical damage. Has a chance to crit with Killing Machine once I get to that. Path of Frost makes you walk on water. Cost 1 rune. It's really useful for Rothi Basin, Battle for Gilneas, anything where there's a water in your path, really. Pillar Frost, another one of our offensive cooldowns. The power of frost increases your strength by 20%, which is an absolute ton. Grants immunity to external movement effects such as knockbacks. Lasts 20 seconds. So 20-second duration on a 20% strength buff. Really good. Raise allies are battle res. You can use it in battlegrounds. I don't think I've ever used it in battlegrounds, but I need to start to use it. Yeah, it's basically battle res. Remorseless Winter, drain the warmth of life from all nearby enemies, dealing 253,000 fast damage over 8 seconds, reducing their movement speed by 8 seconds. This is an ability you're going to use before you use all your other abilities because the damage is increased from one of your talents. And if you don't take that one talent that I'm going to be mentioning later, then you probably won't want to use this that often. Rune Forging, you're going to want to enchant your rune weapons with, or your artifact weapons with Fallen Crusader and Razor Ice. Reason that Razor Ice increases the frost damage people take, and Fallen Crusader gives you a 15% strength buff and heals me for 6% of my max health. Sounds like a good deal to me. Don't know why you wouldn't do that. Cindergoza's already talked about it. Wraithwalk is our gap closer, and our only gap closer really, other than Death Grip. Basically, you become immune to movement impairing effects, and you turn into this thing with increased movement speed. Next is Dark Succor. When you kill an enemy that yields experience or honor, your next death strike within 20 seconds is free, and his healing is increased by 100%. You can use this with Icebound Fortitude, basically get one death strike off, and get a full heal, like full health, everything from one death strike. So, if you're low, have this, pop Icebound Fortitude, full health. Killing Machine. Your auto attack crit strikes have a chance to make your next Obliterate automatically crit. So this synergizes very well with Obliterate. Again, you're going to want to use it a lot. Does a lot of damage. Hits for probably 300,000, 400,000 in PvP. Our Mastery increases all frost damage done. Not really that noteworthy. On a Pale Horse is just increases mount speed. Rhyme is another one that you want to keep kind of attention to. Obliterate has a 45% chance to cause your next Howling Blast to consume no runes and deal 300% additional damage. So basically, if you Obliterate, you're going to have a chance to make your next Howling Blast, which is this thing right here, do probably 300,000 damage in PvP, which is what I usually find it to hit for. And then Runic Empowerment is, I guess, what your main... I'm trying to think. It's like a resource builder almost, because it refreshes your runes, and it's caused by Frost Strike. When you spend Runic Power, you have a 1.8% chance per Runic Power spent to gain a rune. So if you Death Strike, you use Runic Power, you might get a rune back. If you use Frost Strike, you spend Runic Power, you might get a rune back. There's no guaranteed chance, so sometimes you get kind of screwed over by this, but most of the time I find I won't really have that problem with the build I run, where I run out of runes. And on to talents. So a lot of people tell me to take Shattering Strikes. If there are 5 stacks of Razor Ice on the target, Frost Strike will consume them and deal 40% additional damage. This doesn't seem that worth it to me. Reasons being, it gets rid of your Razor Ice proc, which gives you a 15% frost damage increase on the person, and it only buffs one Frost Strike ability for 40% of the damage, which doesn't seem that worth it to me in PvP unless you're really going against like a really melee heavy team where you know you're not going to be able to do a lot of physical damage. Icy Talons, I don't even take this anymore. It used to be good when Frozen Pulse wasn't nerfed to the ground. Now that it is in PvP, I don't take it at all. This is my go-to for every situation as a Frost DK, really. Consuming the Killing Machine effect has a 65% chance to cause you to gain one rune. This is basically extra rune every time you Obliterate, really. And the amount of... I need to stop that. Close window. Sorry about that. Every time. Every video that happens. But anyway, you find yourself Obliterating with a Killing Machine proc a lot, so usually you're going to be generating a lot of runes from this, and that's why I take it. I don't see a reason to take anything else, really. This is honestly my go-to. Every situation. I haven't changed his talent since I've gone into Frost, really. Freezing Fog, Howling Blast, and Frost Fever deal 30% increased damage. This is good with your Rhyme proc right here. Basically makes your Howling Blast hit like a truck, hits through bop, does frost damage, hits even melees very hard. That's why I take this. Frozen Pulse, while you have fewer than 2 full runes, your auto attacks radiate intense cold, inflicting 41,000 frost damage on all nearby enemies. I don't take this anymore. I used to, because it's hard to maintain less than 2 runes on someone, or on yourself, while trying to do damage on someone as much as possible. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. Horn of Winter, I've never taken this. 2 runes generate Blow the Horn of Winter, gaining 2 runes and generating 20 runic power. Never taken this. Don't think I'm ever going to take it. I like Freezing Fog too much. Ice Cap. Your Frost Strike and Obliterate critical strikes reduce their minute cooldown on Pillar of Frost by 1 second. I don't find this to be worth it at all. I feel like the 1 minute cooldown on Pillar of Frost is fine enough, and a 20-second uptime on it is very high, so therefore you only have a 40-second downtime on Pillar of Frost. Even then, without Pillar of Frost, you still hit like a truck. So that's why I don't take this. Hungering Rune Weapon, already talked about this, replaces Empowered Rune Weapon. Basically gives you 1 rune, 5 runic power every 1.5 seconds for 15 seconds. Avalanche, I don't take this either. It's basically extra frost damage whenever you crit strike. Whenever you melee critical strike while you have Pillar of Frost up. Don't take it that much. Winter is coming. This is my go-to because I find that I do have Pillar of Frost up a lot whenever I do have Remorseless Litter run. Enemy struck 5 times by Remorseless Litter while your Pillar of Frost is active are stunned for 4 seconds. This is our like only stun is a Frost DK, so that is why I take it. Just a stun. Blinding Sheep targets in cone an area where you blind, causing them to wander disoriented for 4 seconds. Damage may cancel the effects. I don't think I've ever taken this in Battlegrounds or Arena or anything like that. I'd rather just have the stun itself from Remorseless Winter. Abomination's Might. Obliterate crit strikes have a 20% chance to drive the lesser enemies into the ground, stunning them for 2 seconds. And then for PvP, it only stuns and dazes. It doesn't stun them. It only dazes them for 5 seconds. So it's just a slow, but you already have plenty of slows as the Frost DK, so that's why I don't take it. White Walker. You take 30% reduced damage while Wraithwalk is active. When you enter or leave Wraithwalk, all nearby enemies are slowed by 70% for 3 seconds. This is usually my go-to. I like the getaway chance of it and the reduced damage aspect of it. You can also go Permafrost, which is when you deal damage with an auto attack, gain Absorb Shield equal to 30% of the damage dealt. This is like, it's basically just an extra Absorb. If you find yourself just not getting focused, you can build up a decent amount of shield from it, but most of the time I like using Light Walker. I'll change these out. This is like the most interchangeable row out of the talent tree, really. Volatile Shielding is another one that I've tried a few times. Your anti-magic shell turns your enemy's magic against them, absorbing 35% more damage but generating no runic power. When it expires, 25% of all damage absorbed is dealt as shadow damage divided among all nearby enemies. This is very good against a Arcane Mage, Frost Mage, Destruction Warlock. You pop this, get on them, it'll do 300,000 damage, 400,000 damage around there. So if you find yourself going against those kind of team comps in Arena, or a lot of those in Battlegrounds, I would suggest taking this over the other two. If you find yourself just not getting focused a lot, meleeing a lot of people, maybe just sticking on a healer a lot, would suggest Permafrost. I just like, personally, I prefer White Walker. Level 90 taunt, Frost Scythe. Sweeping attack in front of you that strikes all enemies in front of you for 80,000 damage, Frost damage. This attack benefits from Killing Machine. Critical strikes from Frost Scythe deal 4 times normal damage. I don't really take Frost Scythe in most situations. I feel that Obliterate is fine enough. The only incentive you'd have to take Frost Strike is that it only costs 1 rune instead of 2. Runic Attenuation, whatever that means. Attacks, auto attacks generate 1 runic power. If you find yourself runic power starved a lot, I'd take this. If you suck at managing your runic power, would suggest taking this. Gathering Storm is my go-to. It does a lot of damage. If you pop it before you burst someone, it does a ton of damage. Each rune spent during Remorseless Winter increases its damage by 15% and extends its duration by 0.5 seconds. This will stack up to, I believe, 9 times. So that is about 135% increase on your Remorseless Winter damage, which I will show you guys in the rotation here soon. Glacial Advance, 1 rune, summon Glacial Spikes from the ground that advance forward, each dealing 234,000 frost damage to enemies near the eruption point. Again, this is frost damage, it's not physical damage. It can hit through a Blessing of Protection that a Paladin throws up, so you can use this whenever you go against a Paladin. Breath of Cinder Groza, I've already talked about this. Basically just does frost damage in front of you in a cone, and does it until cancelled. And will refresh your runes. For the next 8 seconds, every Frost Strike hit triggers Killing Machine, and Obliterate costs 1 less rune. You can use this. This would be good because you're just going to regenerate a lot of runes with Hungering Rune Weapon and Obliteration. I don't think I've ever used them both together, but I just prefer Breath of Cinder Groza in most situations. especially even in PvP. Even though it does reduce damage in PvP, I still find it better, I guess, because usually I don't even find myself having to have the rune reduction on obliterate in PvP, so that's why I don't take it. And I haven't changed these talents in forever, so if you just want to copy them, then go for it. Honor talents. The Frost DK honor talents are probably some of the worst honor talents I've seen, honestly. Gladiator's Medallion is your go-to. For the second row talent, you're going to want to take Reinforced or Sparring. Sparring if you're going against a melee heavy team. Reinforced if you just want the extra health. For the bottom row talent, you're going to want to pick between Cadavius, Pallor, and Anti-Magic Zone. I just take this because it's passive and I don't have to think about using Anti-Magic Zone. But if you do want the extra ability and cooldown, then feel free to take Anti-Magic Zone, because I feel like if you time it, it's way more effective than this. But the RNG of this is, I like it. Most of the time when I'm playing a caster, I find myself trying to hit someone, and usually they just want to take damage because they have this. For the aura row, I take Decomposing just because it reduces max health. You can take Necrotic if you want to increase the magic damage of your allies. I don't think I've ever taken Hard Stop Aura though, because it doesn't seem that useful. If you can read it yourself, reduces the cooldown recovery rate of abilities by 20%. Don't think it's that useful. Okay, second to bottom row. Your Death Grip automatically applies Chains of Ice to the target. When you Chains of Ice a target afflicted by Chains of Ice already, you root them for 4 seconds. If you want to take that, you can. I prefer Remorseless or Frozen Center, which your Remorseless Winter also freezes all targets within 10 yards, rooting them in place for 4 seconds when cast. And obviously this pairs very well with Gathering Storm, because you're going to be using Remorseless Winter what? Your Howling Blast and Frost Strike apply Delirium to the target, the disease that debilitates the target's movement, reducing the cooldown recovery rate of movement enhancing abilities by 25%, stacks up to 2 times. I don't think I've ever taken this. I usually take Frozen Center over it. Ever since I took Death Chill when I didn't have Frozen Center, now I just take Frozen Center every time. So, bottom row talent, don't even think about Chill Streak. I don't think I've ever taken it. I don't think it's that great. I feel like it's kind of a waste of a honor ability unless you really need the max damage reduction, or total health damage, I guess. Overpowered Rune Weapon is your go-to. Reduces the cooldown of your Empowered Rune Weapon by 2 minutes. So this goes from 3-minute cooldown to a 1-minute cooldown. Taking the actual window that when you use it, it's going to be up, that's 15 seconds. That's a 45-second cooldown on an ability that gives you 1 rune and 5 runic power every 1.5 seconds. That's why I take it. You can also take Tundra Stalker. It's just a flat damage increase on your Frost Strike on snared targets, which most people will be snared when you're hitting them, and it increases the crit chance of Frost Strike by 50% when they're rooted. So if they're rooted by Death Chill, Frozen Center, any kind of root, you can just crit them a lot. Okay, and now we're done talking about most of the basic stuff of Frost DK. Time to go on to the rotation, which is very, very, very simple. It's very hard to fuck up. I'll just go on this guy. So basically, I'm gonna mute the sound because I hate sound. Like whenever I'm near these guys, I'll just go over here. They're too loud. Okay. So basically, whenever you start off on on anyone really, you're gonna want to start with Remorseless Winter. Pop your Pillar of Frost. My one-shot macro is basically just Pillar of Frost and Empowered Rune Weapon, or Hungering Rune Weapon, whichever one you use really. So that's gonna pop both of my offensives and make it so I generate a lot of runes. And then you're going to want to use Breath of Sindragosa. This is your burst, by the way, and I'll explain the normal rotation after. So I'll do my burst right here, show it to you guys. I'm going to have a little thing right here showing the buttons I press. And yeah, feel free to just watch and follow my example, I guess. So I'm going to pop Howling Blast or Remorseless Winter, pop my one-shot macro, and basically just spam Obliterate. Use Breath of Sindragosa, and now I just spam Obliterate. Just keep on spamming it. When you can't use it, I'd suggest using your Rhyme procs. And just keep on spamming until you can't spam anymore. And when you're low like this, you can just use Frost Strike. Of course, Remorseless Winter is up again. So there's your burst. I did 700,000 damage. There's 700,000 DPS there with my burst. I didn't pop Breath of Sindragosa. Obviously, you need to use that. I just didn't feel like pressing it, really. Or I just forgot. It's probably the latter. Anyway, you're going to want to use Breath of Sindragosa sometime in that window. Sometimes I like to save it for a ranged attack, because you can be ballsy with that. Like if a mage blinks away, they're trying to get a cast on you, they're very low. You just breath of cinder goes with them, they're dead. That's if they have like 400,000 health. If they're really trying to pull that shit off, but anyway. So you'll see here, Pillar Frost is almost up, and I'll show you guys the basic rotation. So, basic rotation, you're going to want to weave your Obliterate and Frost Strike and Amorphous Winter and Rhyme procs in, so you have the most runic power you have and can keep, but you also want to have as many ruins as you can. So, I'll try to explain what I'm doing here. If you're low, if you're a Blood Elf, you can use Arcane Torrent too. So, here we go. Here's the normal rotation. Since I have a Rhyme proc, I'm going to use that. Since I'm low, I'm going to use a Frost Strike. Gonna Obliterate. Save another Obliterate. Frost Strike for the rune maybe. Okay. So nothing procs there. And since Amorphous Winter is almost up, gonna wait for that again. Use Obliterate. Frost Strike. Obliterate. Howling Blast. Frost Strike. Maybe get a rune. Okay, maybe get a rune. Here we go. Basic rotation. Basically weaving Rhyme, weaving Obliterate, killing machine-ins, weaving your Frost Strike into your ability rotation, and trying to just retain your runes and still have something to press at all times. Even without cooldowns, my DPS is 500,000. DPS in Battlegrounds, at least when you're not just on top of a target dummy like that, hitting someone, you're going to find yourself almost never running out of runic power and runes with this build. So that's like my crash course on Frost Death Knight. It's one of the simpler classes. Once you get used to it, it's definitely really fun. I'd compare it to a Fury Warrior, really, but slightly more tanky and better on casters. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Someone asked me for this and I've delayed it for like 5 days, so whoever you are, deeply sorry to do that to you. Butchered the end there. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. If you guys liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Check out my channel. I release WoW videos every day. Try to catch me live streaming. I live stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 11:30 to 4:30, I think, is my time. Follow my Twitch and Twitter in the description below. Subscribe to my channel if you guys like what you see. Leave a thumbs up. It helps me a lot. If you guys have any questions, comments, tips, anything like that, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching, guys. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.